So thank you all for joining us for improving workforce productivity with effective task management reporting. Over the duration of this webinar, we're going to go and talk a little bit about task management, and then more specifically, we're going to show some examples within a product called Tasker. So who is Tasker? Who is DTech Apps? For those of you who are unfamiliar with us, DTech Apps, we are an organization within the larger group of Discover Technologies, a Servicenow partner, Microsoft partner, and we've been doing technology solutions and services for over a decade. And DTech Apps is a division within Discover that's focused on ServiceNow. And more specifically, building applications and solutions that are secure for enterprises across the world. So today, the Tasker suite developed by DTech Apps is available in the ServiceNow store. And you can access it or order it online through their store, and it seamlessly works with ServiceNow. What that does by building apps on top of ServiceNow, like Tasker and Integrator, it allows us to provide intuitive and secure, cost-effective solutions by leveraging that platform. Now, when we talk about task management, part of the reason we're all here is because we've been there. We've created tasks. We've come up with big ideas. We've even come up with sort of the day-to-day work, those tedious tasks we all do, as I like to say. And so from that big idea, it eventually goes through a process where we have to assign it either to ourselves or someone else, someone who is within our hierarchy of our organization, someone who reports to us, maybe somebody in a different department. But anyhow, that big idea has to be executed on. And so we traditionally in the task management process, depending on how you operate and whether or not you have a system, I think for all of us, we can understand that usually those tasks get assigned. And so for most of us, it's an email, maybe it's a Post-it note, or if we're still operating like a business from over 20 years ago, it's an interoffice memo that's been printed out and signed off on that somebody's got to sign back and accept and rotate around. But from there, once you get that task, once you get that notification, you've got to go ahead and create a reminder. Sometimes it's in your Outlook or email application. Sometimes it's a variety of other Post-its and sticky notes. And really, at the end of the day, for a lot of us to remember a task, it involves us ultimately doing something that's going to remind us, tying a string around our finger that there's something to get done. And then what's the result? Well, more times than not, we like to think it's completed, but more times than not, it really is kind of up in the air. We never know what happens to a lot of things that we assign out. And even worse, it gets caught up in a black hole. So with Tasker is a secure solution that's collaborative, built on Now, and it's intuitive, and it makes people accountable, not just the people doing the work, but the people assigning it. The reporting, the features, the functionality, the ability to see what we are working on, what we've accepted. It's all in one screen, and it's designed to make it so in that single view, you can wake up every day in Tasker in a single screen application and get your work done. And so by doing a single screen, by staying within the ServiceNow platform and allowing people to operate in one area, we're also going as far as saving an hour of productivity every day on people's lives by keeping them from bouncing between desktop applications. So with that, and really not to keep going through any more of this PowerPoint, we're all here to see and hear from Adam Moskoff. He's our senior solutions consultant here at DTech Apps Discover Technologies. He's everything from a product marketing manager to Moskoff the Magnificent, as we like to say. So with that, I'd like to hand over control of the webinar to Adam, and he's going to do a quick demo. Adam?
Thanks, DC. All right, let me share out my desktop, and if you guys could let me know by raising your hands, if you can see it, that would be great. But what we're looking at right here is the primary tasker interface. And for those of you who don't know or haven't used Tasker, as DC mentioned, this is built on ServiceNow. We inherit all the goodness of ServiceNow, whether it's security layers, user management, role-based access controls. But it also allows us to leverage, which we're going to get into today, the power of ServiceNow reporting, which is a wonderful engine, allowing everybody to be able to get the information they need to make better decisions and do their job more efficiently. But we have different types of reports we're going to be going through, or different types of information we're going to go through today, from the tactical to the strategic. And we're going to start out tactical, which is maybe I just need someone to do something for me. Or maybe I'm a task manager and I'm concerned with one particular task and making sure it gets completed. After that, we're going to jump into a more strategic view, which is what is my team doing, or perhaps what is the entire organization doing? So as we start, information is key, right? We often compare ourselves to something like email, because to be perfectly honest, the vast majority of people tasking in today's day and age actually use email to do it. You send your boss a note saying, hey, I need this so I can finish my job. Or you send a colleague this, hey, can you share, can you work with me on something? And all of that is traditionally done via email. But the problem with email, of course, is you don't know if someone's reading your email. And if you ask them to do something, you don't know if they're actually doing it until it comes back to you complete or with a question. So with Tasker, I can see my active tasks, right? This is information for me. This is all the stuff on my to-do list, which I need to get done. But I also need to be able to task other people and visualize that. So I'm just going to kick off a very quick task to my colleague, Joaria. Sample task for document review. I'm going to assign it to her. If you look, this interface is very similar to an email. We modeled it that way on purpose. And we have the ability to send it to multiple groups or multiple individuals, right? We can task to a team, we can task to an individual, we can control that as needed. And now I just send her something saying, please send me the latest COVID hiring policy document. And again, this is about visibility. I'm not trying to show everything about Tasker, but this is important visualizations, what we're seeing here. So I've created a task, I've assigned it to Joaria. We can look at a task tree view here where it's a single standalone task, right? And we get color coordination, and this visibility is very important. Just by looking at this, I can see that it's been assigned to her, that she hasn't accepted it yet, that she's not working on it, or even sending it back to me for review. But we also have the ability to look at all of the tasks we've asked other people to do. So if I come down to this list, right, we see sample tasks for document review. We see all these things I've sent out to other people and what state it's in. Are they actively doing it? And if Joaria were to come in and she were going to start work on this, or even just accept assignment on this, we can see that this right here updated to accepted. She has accepted it. This is important information. This is visualization. She's acknowledging she's aware of this, which is so different from an email where I might have to follow up saying, did you get it? She's saying she's not working on it yet, but she has accepted it. And then she's telling me, yes, I know this is on my horizon. I'll take care of it when I get to it. And that's great feedback. Now we can also go and look at a more sophisticated task. We're not just replacing email, we allow for more efficient collaboration between people. So as a task manager, I come in and I can look at a much more sophisticated task like this one. And again, the idea is information to make decisions on. And if we look at this on the left side here, that's me, that's the top level task. And I have a hiring policy document, which I'm working on, collaborating on with a number of people. And we can see the purples, Rob and John, they've finished their work, right? They've taken their assignments, they've done it, and they've sent it back to me to review. That's what purple means. And I can see that just by looking at it. I can see that Kat is actively working on it. That's great. And once again, I see Jawaria has accepted it. But this is a little different. Besides knowing that she's aware she has to do it, she's able, because this isn't workflow, because this is an ad hoc tasking solution, and we need to see what's going on in our world, she's able to then create her own subtask to Hugh and Colin, saying, hey guys, I need you to do this for me before I can do my portion. And so she keeps that flexibility to be able to task out to people. And then me, from a visualization perspective, I'm actually able to say, oh, look, Jawaria actually reached out and she was able to do this. And I get information. On the Department of Defense side of the house, we had a general tell us once that traditionally he would always just go to his chief of staff and say, hey, I need X, Y, Z. Maybe it's a report, maybe it's a document, whatever it is. And a few days to a few weeks later, it would show up on his desk and he'd have it. And life was great. Then he got Tasker. And suddenly he was actually able to see everything which was involved and realize that some of his requests actually involved the mobilization of 120 different people to get him what he needed. And it gave him feedback saying, maybe there's a better use of these people's time. And then up here, the last thing I want to talk about in terms of getting information as someone who's managing a task or even working on a task is we can see that Ike up top hasn't even accepted a task. And that right there is good feedback, right? That's giving me knowledge that maybe I should focus my attention here on Ike and figure out what's going on. Why hasn't Ike accepted it? And so I sleuth around a little bit and I find out Ike's on vacation and that Jacqueline's covering for him while he's gone. Now, with a workflow, it's not always easy to reassign or make any changes to a workflow. Usually it's pretty static. In this case, to reassign this from Ike to Jacqueline, all I have to do is come in, pop it open, find Jacqueline right here, and hit update. And now we see that Jacqueline's been assigned it. She's going to get that email saying, hey, Jacqueline, you've been assigned a task. And she clicks on the link and it shows up and she can start working. And again, it's giving me the ability to make easy changes, to manage tasks and get that visibility into what I need to pay attention to. One quick aside, which is relevant as we go, because right now we're talking tactical. We're sending people tasks, we're following up, we're getting information on them, we're aware of what's happening tactically in our environment. But there's also a strategic need, especially for upper level people in the C-level, VPs, even directors, but even just regular task managers and regular employees who need a bigger picture of what's going on, not just the specific, what's my to-do list, but specifically what's going on in the organization or even just my team. What do I need to be aware of? And so for that, we're able to inherit the wonderful Servicenow dashboards. So I'm going to start out just with an overview, right? This dashboard, which can be modified, right? We leverage everything ServiceNow. And that includes the ability to have easily modifiable dashboards so that end users, regardless of whether they're someone in the trenches or someone behind the lines, can get the information they need to do their job better. And so from a Tasker administration, starting top down, the person who's got to administer Tasker inside ServiceNow is actually able to see how many users do we have using this, right? How many users over time have we had? And get sort of information that's all actionable. If we click here, we're going to break down and see all the different users in there. Like everything else ServiceNow, these are real-time dashboards. They update real-time. We can leverage performance analytics as part of our offering, whether or not our customers have bought performance analytics, and that gives us data over time. But more specifically, as someone who's managing, I might want to look at, for example, the enterprise overview. And this might be for a C-level or a VP or even a director who wants to look at what's going on in the world of tasking, right? Who's doing what? How many people? What are the holdups? What do I need to pay attention to? So we can look, what's the active tasks, right? And these are top tasks because a single task may just be, as we saw from my initial one task, or it may cascade down into 20, 40, 50 different tasks, or subtasks as we call them. But what we really care about is, are we tasking? Whether it takes 4 people working on it, 1 person working on it, and 50, it's still a task. And so we're filtering here, how many tasks, what are the different teams who are using Tasker? Have they adopted it? Are they gaining the efficiencies of tasking? And I can see that, right? I can come down, I can look at how many tasks are being created and distributed and worked day by day over time, right? What's our task workload here? How many are being created every day? How many are being closed every day? All of these metrics are important for better understanding my environment. And then we can drill down and get more information, right? How many open tasks are there in the organization? How many tasks haven't even been accepted or assigned to someone? So this level of high-level overview really allows upper-level people to better understand what their organization is and isn't doing, and it allows them to take more corrective actions. We did have someone on the civilian government side actually say, I love the dashboards because all I care about is being ahead of it. When I get that phone call saying something's not working or something's not done, which you promised to me, I need to be able to see what it is before I get that phone call so I can fix it. And these dashboards allowed her to do that. And so then we have our analytics, right? We can come down, we can even use a calendar to see when are things due, when are things showing up. But then we break it down. Again, ServiceNow, and I want to emphasize this because we have the privilege of being able to leverage everything ServiceNow, we can then come in and we can start creating dashboards for just a regular task manager, maybe a team leader, right? And here's their smaller numbers, right? How many tasks are due today? My team only has one task due today. Like before, if I click on it, it simply shows you what it is. And I can break it down by active tasks as well. How many different teams, who's being tasked the most. I can see Jawari, of course, is our #1 task user. And then again, this is on my team level. How many tasks are my team creating every week? And so it's this type of information, which is more specific. It's a strategic view, but it's specific for me as a task manager. And these baseline reports get shipped with Tasker for any end user who wants it. But what's nice is they can also be modified. So you can create new widgets, or we can help you create new widgets. And then you can see the data you need in order to better do your job. Even down to just a specific My Task page, right? And this is the last thing we're going to cover right now. But when we look at this, right, the tasks requiring my attention, what do I have to worry about? I have 4 open tasks and it looks like they're all overdue. And I can actually come in and I can see these, and then I can start taking action on it. And it gives me the ability to better understand what do I need to be focused on just as a regular employee, right? All the tasks I have which aren't overdue, how many are in what state? How many am I working on? How many have I finished and I'm waiting for them to be approved or sent back to me for further work? So these types of dashboards really allow, from a work management perspective, people to get away from basic email. I mean, the biggest problem people have with email, of course, is what about that thing someone asked you to do last week? How are you tracking that? DC covered that with his string around the finger. Generally, what I see, which I used to have to do myself, is you're seeing people creating Excel sheets with their task list in it, and they're copying and pasting out of email. Or perhaps they create an elaborate filing system in their inbox, and they start moving emails back and forth, but they're still not getting good visibility. But with Tasker, with a combination of dashboards and more tactical views, it makes life so much easier for people to make sure they're getting what's important done, whether it's one of those boring, tedious tasks, which still needs to happen, or some of the more dynamic and interesting stuff, which unfortunately doesn't seem to happen often enough in this world. And that's it for me, folks. I'm going to give it back to DC. DC, I think you're still
there. We go. And thanks for that. Again, for anybody who had any questions, and we can address those questions even at the end of the webinar. If you had any questions for Adam, go ahead and type those into the Q&A pane. And what I'm going to do is let me bring up my screen, and we will share the last couple slides and then dive into Q&A. Perfect. So to sum it all up, You don't have to resort to being caught in the chaos. You don't have to stay with a legacy system that's inefficient. You don't have to deal with a system that's insecure. And you don't have to deal with disjointed Band-Aid worth of Band-Aided practices to manage your tasks. You can upgrade to Tasker. The total cost of ownership, and especially when you think about all of the organizations that are leveraging ServiceNow today, to harness that power of ServiceNow, to take advantage of it and expand it into your task management solution, not only makes it a more secure solution, but more cost effective. And when IT is looking at adding value to the enterprise, cost effective solutions is really one of the biggest things that they're focused on. With Tasker, there's a variety of integrations, including SharePoint, that we offer. But as sort of said before, the rapid deployment and that single screen efficiency is really where people start to recognize some new value on top of our extensive reporting capabilities. So just a handful of quotes as we close this out from people who, organizations that have Tasker deployed. From what we hear, and this is straight from them, from the onboarding with our training videos, to the ability of seeing tasks in real time to hold people accountable, organizations already are leveraging Tasker. And whether you're looking at it for your own organization, or if you're looking at it from a partner standpoint, if you're a current ServiceNow partner and you're looking at offering Tasker to your clients, the opportunity to help really make an impact and streamline enterprise is there. So with that being said, I'm just going to drop into the Q&A section. Aha. Perfect. And Adam, if you'll hang on for a second.
Sure.
Just give a quick question. All right. So so as we begin, let's see here. I'm going to try to translate this into something to make it a little easier. So I guess, so asking about mentioning cost-effective solutions, what do you mean by cost-effective? So when we're talking about Tasker, so the licensing for Tasker can start as low as almost $15 a user. And when you look at some of the cloud-based solutions out there, which can vary from 50 to 100, and even at an enterprise level, hundreds of dollars per user, an enterprise solution like Tasker that can deploy and be leveraged by any and all departments makes a ton of sense. So yes, for most people, depending on the application, depending on the deployment, our licensing and begins at $15. ServiceNow, so is there a minimum number of users? So per the requirements of ServiceNow Store, this is ServiceNow on us, not that we're doing it. ServiceNow requires us to have a minimum license of 400 users. So, which is why we talk about this in terms of an enterprise-wide solution. Okay. When we talk, so the question is, when we talk about SharePoint, what's that? So we'll talk about that in a future webinar. But we have a solution that I brought up in the Tasker Suite slide at the beginning, and it's called Doc Integrator. And Doc Integrator allows us to surface files stored in SharePoint and carry them through tasks securely and without making duplicates, without damaging or tweaking the files that are being processed through. And it also includes an e-signature functionality to it that helps for those looking at other e-signature solutions by leveraging that. It's far more cost effective than some of the sign products out there. So we will talk about that, and if you're interested, we'll make sure everybody here is invited to the next webinar when we talk about Doc Integrator. Okay, let's see here. So I think for a question standpoint, there's a couple questions I will take offline, and we'll address those. But for the sake that we're at half past the hour, a minute away from it, I'll go ahead. We'll stay here for a minute if anybody has any questions they want to text through. But that concludes today's webinar. Appreciate you joining us today. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to contact us. The easiest way to contact our team is go to dtechapps.com and send a message through the website, and somebody will route that to the appropriate person to get right back to you. With that said, thank you all for joining, and that concludes today's webinar.
And they're off.
All right, let me end the recording.